Hello everyone. First of all, wishing you all a very happy Easter Sunday. Welcome to another episode of NinaRibenas, Art Journal Prompts and more. Can you believe we're into April already? So time for a new prompt. This month's prompt is going to be spring. I'm sure some of you were expecting this, and I know that the ladies, across the other side of the world, Australia, New Zealand, etc., are, coming to the end of the summer and just about to start, their autumn, winter period. We all love doing springtime pages, don't we? And adding a bit of colour into our journals. It'll come as no surprise. I am going to do an Easter themed page for you today. I'm going to do a journal page, and I'm going to create my background using distress oxides in antique linen and bundled sage. So I've got a couple of pieces of dried cut and dry foam at the ready, and I'm going to blend it onto my page in a similar way to how I did it last week. Let me just load up this cut and dry. I just prefer to add my distress oxides to the page and then sort of spritz and smush it around afterwards. That just works for me, but you can sort of apply it to a craft mat and smush it in. It really is entirely up to you. So I'm going to do a similar thing to how I did last week. Just put scruffily some of this distress oxides down. I'm working on cardstock, smooth cardstock this week. I've said to you before, I just think that the distress oxides work better on a smooth base. But, use what you have. If you want to work on mixed media paper or watercolour paper, that's, entirely up to you. So I'm just going to keep applying this to my background, and I'll probably put this on to fast forward for you to avoid all the boring bits. And the same as last week, this is just a case of building up all of those layers until you've got a nice, even, smooth background. So I'm just going to keep going until I'm happy with the way that it looks. So I'll probably fast forward now and show you what it looks like as I get towards the end. So I continued adding the two colours of the Distress Oxide, and it is just a case of building up those layers until you get a smooth finish. It's a bit time consuming, but in my opinion, just well worth it. And now I just want to do my usual trick of spraying just to oxidise the inks and just get some texture going. So let that do its thing, and then I'm going to heat set that with my heat tool. With my background, and I'm going to seal it using the Distress Glaze that you've heard me talk about recently, and this will just seal it and stop those inks moving, because of course they're water reactive. You don't need very much, you just apply it with your finger in a very, very thin layer. Obviously I've got quite a large area to cover, so I'm just going to go off and do this, and as soon as I've covered my page I'll come back and show you what you need to do next. Okay, so my whole page is covered, and you can see when it's covered if you hold it up to the light, because of course it's got sort of like a greasy, shiny feel, and you really don't need very much of this at all. And then you just grab a kitchen wipe and you're just going to buff that off. Now, it was Katerina Mylona that recommended this to me. Many of you know Katerina from some of the Facebook groups that you're in. And I just want to give a shout out to Katerina whilst I'm on the subject as well, because Katerina has finally started her own YouTube channel, and I will leave the link to her channel in the description box below, but it is called Katerina Mylona. Katerina makes these gorgeous, gorgeous boxes. I mean, just look at that. And that's what her channel is about. Well, that's what her first video was about anyway. But this was one that Katerina sent me for my 3,000 subscriber challenge, I think it was. But just look at it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's exquisite. I mean, she is just incredibly talented. So please, please, please go and check her out. I just know that she would just be absolutely delighted if you would share her some support. So there we go, Katerina Mylona. And I will leave the link to her channel in the description box below. But I'm just going to continue buffing this like that, and that should seal my distress oxides and stop them reactivating to anything else that I decide to put on. Right, okay, now the next stage, and let me just see if I can find this stamp that I want to use. I want to use this stamp here, and let me just show you what this is. It's from a sink draining mat. In the days when I first started mixed media and didn't have, hardly any supplies, I was just doing the rounds of places like TK Maxx, the pound shop, just trying to find anything, because of course, when you're into mixed media, as you all know, you see things with very, very different eyes. And I don't know whether I'd seen this on a YouTube video. I probably had. I don't know, it's 3 years ago, I really can't remember, but I'd spotted this on clearance in TK Maxx. You can get these on the internet. It's just, as I say, a sink drainer, and this is what I used to use as a stencil and on my homemade jelly plate, just for adding texture. It's well used. You can see all the staining from the homemade sprays that I've used, but I wanted to use it today, so I've just cut a small piece off the corner, and I just want to use this to stamp some flowers around my page. Now I've just got to have a think about what I want to use to stamp with, so let me just go and find something and I shall be straight back. I've decided to use gesso to stamp my image, so I've got a sponge here and I've just put a little bit of gesso onto a piece of craft mat, and I'm just going to stamp it onto this piece of sink drainer. It doesn't have to be a perfect image because I'm going to colour it in anyway, so I'm just going to stamp this on. There we go, like that. Move that out of the way, and then I want this first piece to go. Let me just in the corner like that. So I'm just going to stamp down and keep my fingers crossed that this works. As you can see, I've tested it on here with some of the distress ink just to see, if I get a good crisp stamped image. So there we are. Let's peel this up. Yep, that's good enough for me. And so I'm just going to continue to go around the edge, just stamping my flowers. See here that I've gone over a couple of areas with the gesso and my stamp again, because of the nature of this stamp. It's really easy just to realign it and just stamp over it again. I've cleaned my stamp off. When you are using gesso, it's really important to take it to the sink and wash it off straight away, because once gesso has dried onto a stamp, it's just an absolute pain in the neck to get it off, so wash it straight away. Now I want to use Neo colours again to colour my flowers. I want that soft, romantic, chalky look that the Neo colours provide. You could use watercolour paints, you could use Prismacolor pencils, which would be just absolutely perfect for this, water soluble colouring pencils, anything you have. It really is up to you. And I'm going to be using my blending stamps again. Now, the way that I sharpen my blending stamps, because of course these got quite blunt after I'd used them the last time, I just use a trusty old nail file and just file the ends to a point, and that just works really well for me, and it just takes seconds because of course the paper is so soft. So I'm going to put this on to fast forward and start colouring some of my flowers. This is how far I've got. I've continued doing my flowers, and I'm just currently working on a different colourway. And what I'm trying to do is work in size order. So of course I coloured the largest flowers in the cerise pink. Then I've gone down to the next size, and I'm doing these in the lighter pink, then the cerise pink and orange. And let me just show you how I'm doing this. And by the way, I like having my neo colours in a fine point, because I just find it really easy to get into the smaller areas for detail. And I just use one of these metal pencil sharpeners, and I use the largest hole. So that's how I sharpen my neo colour 2s. I presume it would work for Neocolour 1s as well. I've not got any, so I'm really not sure. So all I'm doing is just adding my next colour and blending it in the same way. So I'll put this on to fast forward just so that you can see the colours again that I'm using. Halfway through colouring my page, and I decided to abandon these colours here. I just felt that it would be too busy and just too much. I just wanted this to be cohesive. I've just added some orange flowers, and I used the orange and this lighter pink here just to blend those flowers out. And now I'm going back to the pink just to fill in the flowers in between again, and then I shall do the tiny ones in yellow, and I might add maybe some of the darker pink to that. I've pulled out some red. I don't know whether I'm going to use it, just to, as I say, just keep this page cohesive. My flowers are all coloured now, and I just want to outline them, and I'm just using a Hobbycraft graphite pencil, and I'm just going to go around the outside, and I shall smudge this again with my blending tool. This is a 4B, which is quite soft. I've lost the one that I was using the other day, so I'm just going to go around this with some scribbly lines, just as I say, to define my flowers before I add my focal image. So let's just go over this just to sort of blend that out, and I shall do this with all of my flowers. Before I do anything else, I am just going to add my border. Hang on, let me just fiddle around with that there. There we are. I'm going to use the black neo colour again, and I'm just going to go right on the very, very edge like this and smudge it out with my finger, and this will just bring everything into focus. There we go. Can you see the difference? So I'm going to go all the way around until I'm happy with it. Right, I've added my border and I'm happy with that. And finally, I just want to add a bit of detail. If I can get my Posca paint pen to work, that is. I just want to add just a bit of detail to the centre of the flowers. You see how that's brightened them? Almost done with my page, and the focal image is going to be this image here from a napkin. Let me just show you, because these bunnies go in two different directions. Now I've fussy cut them out, and when I first fussy cut it out I didn't realise that they were in reverse, and I just cannot make up my mind which way round I want them to go. At first I thought I wanted it this way round. That was the one I originally cut out, and then I realised that they were a different way. Now what I have done, I have taken the layers apart, and I've ironed this onto a piece of freezer paper, just because if I just use the napkin on its own, it would be very translucent, and I just wanted mine more opaque and more stable as well, so that it was easier for me to cut out. So this is going to be my focal image. So that's it that way round, and I think what I'm going to have to do is take a photograph and look through the lens and see how this looks, because I'm just really undecided. I think that way round, not that it really matters. And what I want to do is, my quote is just Happy Easter, and I've put my quote onto a piece of acetate. This is just transparency film. Let me just get the lid. So Staples transparency film. And the reason I've done that, I'm using these sticker sheets here, Alpha Minis. These are just foam stickers, and I just wanted them plain white, just because, you know, the background, in my opinion, is busy enough. Now, I would never get these straight, and so I drew a line onto my piece of paper here, and that's how I've lined it up. And so I've just placed them on, and then I can pop that onto my background. So what I'm going to do now is just fussy cut around the edge of this Happy Easter, and then that will be something as well for my bunnies to stand on, which will ground them. So I'm just going to fussy cut around this, and the way that I'm going to do that is just very loosely just cut around the edge as close to the acetate as I can. And as soon as I've done that, I'll be back. Okay, so I've made a decision, and it's this way round that I want my bunnies. I've cut as close to the letters as I possibly can, just trimmed around this acetate, so you can barely see it, but it just gives me a way to glue everything down so that I can have it spaced out and nice and neat. I'm going to use glossy accents to glue it down because it dries completely clear. I have also sealed my background using spray fixative, and I've given it 3 different goes at that, just so that you know, all of my oil pastels don't bleed. So I'm going to glue the quote down. I'm also going to glue the napkin on the freezer paper down with Pritt stick, and then I'm going to go over the top with some matte medium, because freezer paper is not permanent. So I'm just going to be really careful about how I go around the outside with matte medium. So as soon as I've done and my page is finished, I shall be back. So here's my finished page glued into my journal, and I'm really happy with the way that this has turned out. I just think it's whimsical and cute. I love the flowers, really happy with that. And for anybody in the UK that's interested in this napkin, it was from Waitrose, £1.50 for a pack of 10 or 20, I'm not sure how many were in there, but that's where I got it from. Now, I did make a mistake. I put their whiskers on using this Uniball Vision Elite, and it smudged like mad, and it made a real mess, and of course the more I tried to clear it up, the worse it got. And so I ended up gessoing over this central section here, and then adding some more of the sage colour, just with a piece of cut and dry foam, just to blend it out. And actually I'm quite glad that I did that, because it's brightened up that central section. So it just goes to show that, you know, sometimes if we make a mistake, there is always a way to put it right. So I hope you like that. I really look forward to seeing how everyone else decides to interpret the new prompt spring. And I hope you like what I've created here today. As always, I would appreciate a thumbs up if you did, because it just lets YouTube know that you like what I'm doing. And let me know what you think in the comments below. For one, I love to hear your comments, and secondly, it just lets me know who's been around to watch my videos. So enjoy the rest of your Easter weekend. Have a wonderful time, everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care for now.